Hello and welcome to SOFA SENSEI'S. You're joined by me, Kavan, and as you can see, I'm joined by a very special guest. Today we have Damien Denny, who is a 5-time Irish champion, as well as a pro with an 18-4 record. I'm excited to talk to him about his career in boxing, but also after boxing too. He trained Daniel Day-Lewis to feature in the film The Boxer in 1997, and today is all about that. So we're going to get stuck straight in by talking about his amateur career. So, Damien, thank you very much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Just to give the listeners some idea of how this all came about, I was scrolling on Twitter and I saw an image from a Boxing History Twitter page, and basically it was an image of Barry McGuigan with Daniel Day-Lewis on the pads, and you were in the background sort of keeping a keen eye on proceedings. And you commented on it saying that, you know, you sparred hundreds of rounds with Daniel and you trained him for the film, and that caught our attention right away. We love on SOFA SENSEI'S boxing and all things sort of combat sports, and we're particularly intrigued by sort of movie depictions of combat sports because often they're very Hollywood, you know, type of movies. But seeing that Barry McGuigan is there, you're there in the background. This felt like a real training camp for a purpose. So we wanted to explore it some more, and we just reached out, and you were super accommodating. So really grateful to you. So thank you very, very much. So before we get into the movie, I just want to go through your amateur career briefly. So what got you into boxing?
Probably boredom. It was I started when I was 9. I was born in '66, so it was the mid-70s.
Yeah.
There wasn't really a lot to be doing. I was out playing football or box. So I just, my older brother and I just seemed to take the boxing. Success breeds success. You know, I won titles from I was 11.
Wow.
Got to go to Canada in 1979 when the troubles were rife in Northern Ireland. Get a jumbo jet, traveling to Canada for 11 days. You know, it was an experience that I wanted to taste more of. So basically, that was the reason why I stuck at boxing. I loved it from the very first day we went to it.
So winning titles at 11 after starting at 9 years old, was it something that you was naturally good at then, or was boxing still quite a bit of work for you?
Well, I put it down a lot to my older brother being 3 years older. So I was sparring, working out at home with him. So I was always used to fighting somebody a lot stronger.
Yeah.
When it came to fighting guys my own age, they just didn't have the same strength as my older brother had. So, and just as I said, success, I tasted it early on. I never lost in any championship from I was 11 years of age up until I turned pro at 20. I won County Antrim Ulster Championships the whole way through.
Wow.
Undefeated, yeah. And then carried that through to the Ulster Seniors, where I became Ulster Senior Champion for light welter, and light middleweight, 3 consecutive years, 3 different weights. I moved up a weight and beat the champion every year. So I carried that right through until I turned pro. And I also won 5 Irish titles, as I said.
So we've spoken on this show to a few boxers before, and we know how sort of rigorous the amateur game can be. You know, you're in fights, you're in tournaments frequently. You know, like you were talking about just there, you're going through the weights because you're growing as a man, or as an adolescent, shall I say?
Yeah.
What was that like on the body? You know, that constant competition.
Well, I'm sort of reaping the benefits of it now. It's not being up with arthritis in the feet, and stuff. But I think at the time it's fantastic for any young fella to get into training. It's a great way of disciplining children, you know. So it was there was a lot going on in that Northern Ireland at the time. We could have been getting into stuff we shouldn't have been getting into. So like the Holy Trinity Club and Turf Lodge was a mecca for champions. I mean, you had to be a good fighter even to get out of there. The sparring was you know, it's the toughest way you'd ever get anywhere. We had Irish champions right the whole way through every weight division. Was Irish champions. So when you went into that club, you went in, you were getting the best coaching from Mickey Hawkins, and you were getting the best training, sparring from all the guys in the club, like John Erskine, Charlie Brown, Eddie Fisher, all Irish champions, all fought at Commonwealth, World, European Championships. There was quality run right throughout the club, and that was down to the Hawkins family. You probably heard of Michael Hawkins and Harry and Thomas. They founded the club in '72 when the troubles was absolutely rife.
Yeah.
And the kids that they saved, be taken off the streets and giving them a direction in life. they have been commended and they should be commended, because people like that they're fantastic for a community.
Yeah.
So big tip my hat to them.
Wicked. I mean, you spoke about your older brother as well, and being 3 years older than you, and him in a lot of ways, one, conditioning you, but two, inspiring you and sort of keeping you honest, if you will. How did his boxing career sort of go about?
He actually, one of his last spars we just mentioned, was with Barry McGuigan.
Wow.
He was about a year younger than Barry, and I spoke to Barry about this. He was 18 and he had a really bad car accident. He was almost killed in a car accident. And on the life support machine for, I think it was 33 days. Switched the life support machine off. He kept going, and he's still living today. He's married with 2 beautiful daughters. So they said it was a testimony to how fit his body was. Through. It was 2 brain operations he had, but he's fine.
So you mentioned there they switched the life support off, and he kept going.
Yeah, they put an end to his boxing career. So
yeah.
He was just about to turn senior, go to senior level, and he could bang a bit. He was a lightweight, and he was 9.5 stone. So
wow.
It was a pity that it was cut short like that.
Yeah, but evidently,
right from my mum, who supported us with the cooking, the cleaning, and my dad, the driving us through. My older brother, I have an older brother, Frank. He built us a gym out the back, because we couldn't travel to Belfast every day. We lived about 15 miles outside Belfast. Public transport wasn't great. Troubles were bad. So we had a little small gym out the back, and we used to use that when we couldn't get to the Holy Trinity. So the whole family supported us. And my one older sister, she's Maria, she taught me how to box really. She was always ready to give me a spar.
Go on.
She'd give you a clip when you were misbehaving, Gavan. So it's just support always through a family.
It's like you lived in a training camp. Day in, day out. That sounds amazing. So, like you said, you won all those titles going through the weights as an amateur.
Yeah.
And, you're in a prestigious gym at that as well. So as you sort of turn pro, first of all, was that always on the cards to turn pro? Was it always the vision, the plan?
I think it's sort of every fighter's dream, to be truthful, that they would like to become a world professional champion.
Yeah.
And it's just about being the best amateur. But as time progresses, you sort of think, I would like to see how far I can go in the pro game. I'd won 2 senior titles, competing in the final by Billy Walsh in the third one. I'd boxed the Commonwealth Games, won a bronze medal, got the quarter-final of the World Championships, went to European Championships. So it was gaining experience. I was still only 20 at the time, just coming 21 when I turned pro. Possibly looking back on it now, Gavan, I think I possibly turned pro too early. Should have waited on the 1988 Olympics. It would have been 22, a bit more experience, and who knows? I might have got a medal at the Olympics.
So if I can ask a little bit then, so why did the Olympics evade you?
I turned pro.
Okay. So was there a reason for turning pro? Was there a rush, or was there?
I'd actually broke my hand against. It was Ireland against England, and I stopped a guy called Keith Wall in Dublin, and it was the first time there was going to be a double header international against England and Ireland, and the first one was in Dublin, and then the next one was going to be in Belfast. So I stopped Keith Wall in the third round, I think it was. So he was out for 28 days, so he couldn't fight me in the return in Belfast. 4 days later. So they got me in the light middleweight, a guy called Damien, and I broke my hand against him. That was sort of starting my hand trouble. Then I was going to go to European Championships, and Michael Hawkins said, "Listen, you're not ready. Your hand isn't right." And I sort of I threw the toys out of the pram a little bit and said, "Well, no, I think I'm ready to go." He knew better. He knew what it was about, and the offer had sort of come through the Boxing News. Remember Harry Mullen?
Yeah, one of the editors, right, of Boxing News.
He was like one of the guys. He was an editor. He was actually an Irish guy. He's from Enniskillen.
Really?
He got in contact with me and said Frank Warren was interested, and put the two of us together. And I went and signed with Frank Warren, and I had my first fight on the 1st of June in the Royal Albert Hall in the undercard of Terry Morris against Akhi Kameda.
So Royal Albert Hall pro debut.
Yeah.
Before we get into that, I just want to pick up a little bit on what's going on around you at this time as you're turning pro. So first of all, there's a bit of hype around you because you've got these titles. You're signed by Frank Warren, who he just broke up the cartel. He's making a name for himself. He's a bold, brash promoter. But then also, on the Irish context, Barry McGuigan had just lost his title in and around 1986. So I'm imagining that they're looking for the next big Irish star. Does that all line up?
Yeah. Well, I was a little bit behind. I just turned pro. But Barry actually came and signed for Frank Warren when I was living over there. And Barry came and says, "How do you find living in London?" And I said, "Like, well, it's not home. There's a lot of congestion. There's a lot of fumes. You got to have to get up early in the morning. Here you left my house and you were in the countryside in 5 minutes.
Wow.
Barry was the same. He's in Clonus. He's in an even more remote town. So it was a good bill filler for if Barry was going to be topping the bills. Following on the card of Pickett's Lock when he made his comeback with Frank Warren. So there was that wee bit of Frank. We obviously wanted to sign top fighters without signing big-headed. The boxing news used to run ratings every sort of 6 months. I don't know whether you're old enough to remember the boxing news ratings.
No.
Well, they were like the Bible, Kevan. They knew all the records of all the amateurs. They ranked you number 1 in Britain for 3 years in the amateurs.
Go on.
And 6 in the world. So I had a bit of talent, and Frank signed me, and Frank Warren looked after me impeccably. I have to say that. Brought me over to London.
I'm glad you said that because, a lot of the time, I think particularly now, I see boxing media has shifted a little bit. You referenced quite a lot there, the Boxing News, and that was, is still a very prestigious publication. You could trust them when it comes to boxing. Nowadays, we have a lot of people making a lot of content with unverifiable information inside. Even, if I can even have my opinion here a little bit, Frank himself, I think sometimes lets himself down with some of the YouTube videos that he's going on crazy rants and, burning bridges. But I'm glad that you said he treated you well because we rarely hear that story nowadays. So I'm glad it was a different experience.
Yeah. Listen, you can always speak the truth, and you can only what Frank done for me was he done things fantastic. No fault, couldn't fault it.
Brilliant. So one of the things that we've come to learn about boxing and promotion and that whole union is that there's usually a plan for a fighter. We'll get you this fight, and then in this time we'll get you this title and we'll progress you this way. What was that plan between yourself and Frank?
So that's a good question, and it's a hard question to answer because in the same stable at the same time was a fighter called Georgie Collins. Georgie I think he was about undefeated in 25 fights, and I was coming through behind George as a welterweight. You had Tony Collins, Cornelius Carr, myself. We used to do a lot of sparring together.
Right.
So to say there was a plan, the thing was, it was all about remaining unbeaten, which I think's a bad thing to have now because sometimes you learn more in a fight you lose. Where there was that much sort of it was pressure to sort of hold on to an unbeaten record. As a 21, 22, 23, you're thinking if I lose, TV companies aren't going to want to put me on the shows anymore, which was completely the wrong outlook to have. When I did eventually lose my first fight against Dale Bryan, it really set me back, and I don't think I ever really recovered from it, to be truthful, because I thought, no disrespect to Dale Bryan, I thought I would have beat him, but I was actually killing myself to make 10.5 stone. I mean, it was absolutely, there's only 2 or 3 people that know what I went through to have 10.5 stone. There was no way in the day before the end, Gavan. It was the day of the fight. It was 1 o'clock the day of the fight. I
wow.
Had to make 10 stone, yeah. And on the day of the fight, I was still a quarter of a pound over, and I had to sit in the sauna for about an hour. I was absolutely dead at the weight. I hadn't eaten solids for about 3 days. I was just taking wee energy drinks, and I was training, skipping in the flat, trying to make the weight. I mean, I couldn't exaggerate it enough to see how tough it was for me to make 10.5 stone. And I lost on points over 10 rounds to Dale Bryan. But it did affect me, the unbeaten record.
So,
and then Frank Warren got shot and blah, blah, blah. I joined Barry Hearn after that.
I mean, there's a lot in there. I want to discuss. So, Frank Warren being shot is probably an episode in and of itself. Who shot Frank Warren? Anyway, but I mean, making weight. Yeah, just get it out there. You do not know. Damien does not know who shot Frank Warren. um, Making weight on the same day. Do you know what? You've triggered a memory there, because I remember hearing, what's his name? Ian Darke discuss Eubank Senior making weight in ridiculous ways, dropping ridiculous weight on the day. So for yourself, sitting in a sauna for an hour, drinking energy drink and not having solids for 3 days, could you just talk the audience through how you're feeling at that moment before you get into a fight, by the way, later on in the day?
Oh, listen, it was then, I lived in North London. I was fighting in the London Arena, so to travel across the London Arena, make the way in, make the weight, travel back to the flat, and then travel back to the London Arena. There was none of this, like, you're stay at the venue. And it was,
wow.
It was just, and the fight was on TV, and I actually turned around to Ernie Fossey, God rest him. After the second attempt, I said, Ernie, I can't do this. I said, I'm dead. I can't make a weight. He says, you're topping the bill. It's on ITV. You got to make the weight. So I made the weight, but I just didn't have any energy. And after about 4 rounds, Ernie said to me, he says, you know what you've come through to make a weight. Just slow down a little bit. And then he says, get the strength in later rounds. And I let sort of probably 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 fall away from me. And I think he won a bit point.
So I mean,
it was absolutely relaxed.
And when we talk about, again, you can't not make weight because you're on TV, you're on ITV. I don't want to, I want to make sure the audience are fully aware of what that means in that context as well. We're talking potentially millions of viewers. Some of the big fights we reference, Barry McGuigan, Eubank, Benn, we're talking tens of millions of viewers, 18 million viewers watching some of these fights. So a lot's on the line.
Yeah, do you remember ITV Fight Night?
Before my time.
That was the one with Frank Warren had. He had ITV Fight Night. It was seconds out. So
right.
It was on. So it wouldn't have been on the magnitude of McGuigan and Pedrosa or Eubank and Con. It was still a headliner in the London Arena on ITV. So there was a lot riding on it.
So you mentioned losing to Del Bryan, and almost that you wasn't the same after that. Now, was that because of the effects of the fight itself? Obviously, being dehydrated and drained and then having to fight. Was it the physical effects of the fight, or was it the mental effects of losing a fight?
It was mental effect. It was mental effects.
I mean,
I used to get the boxing news. You'd read he was unbeaten. He was unbeaten. George Collins was unbeaten. Tony Collins was unbeaten. And everyone was, all these things, a real emphasis put on being an unbeaten fighter. When you lost one, what I should have done was I should have noted down what went wrong, moved up to light middleweight then, and said, right, this isn't going to happen again. Instead, I just went, well, not good enough. I just lost to Del Bryan, who I think he had 15 losses on his record, or 12 losses against 37 fights. But he'd been fighting regularly. Even though he might have been losing them, he was still competitively fit. Where I was coming off a layoff of probably, I think it was 6-8 months, and had put on like 2.5 stone and had to try and lose that. It was just my body was growing, and I was trying to boil it down to welterweight every time. So, but I should have made the positive thing out of it and said, this is why you lost, and don't do it again. But I just thought the skills weren't good enough, and really, I should have beaten.
So when we spoke earlier, you spoke about. I joked around about basically living in a training camp. You've got all these people around you supporting you, all with the same vision, the same goal, and even some sparring you can call them at any moment in time. But, what was your pro career like? You've moved away from home. You're living in London. So when you're saying that you should have noted things down, effectively gone back to the drawing board and moved up in weight, was the support network the same when you turned pro?
Well, my family wasn't around me for the start. My family was in and I lived in London, so that my mother and my father came over for. I was supposed to fight a guy called Dave McCabe for a final in there for Blaze title. They came over and cooked and looked after me and stuff like that. But then the support wasn't there. They were there if I needed them, if I hadn't needed them. And it wasn't as easy to keep in contact with. There was no mobile phones. There's none of this. So it was the old phone you dialed up. spoke to, and that's how I learned to cook. My mum taught me how to cook over the phone because she didn't
Wow.
know. All of a sudden, I'd say, right, I've got the potatoes peeled. What meat do you have? And I'm having chops or chicken or whatever. She says, okay, put them in the oven now. Now, I've been in 15 minutes. What I like, told her, okay, turn the potatoes on. And that was how I learned how to cook, Eubank. It's crazy.
I mean, what a resource, though. That's a lovely memory to have. You know, being taught to cook by your mother over the phone. Like as much as, you know, obviously you'd rather be there in person, that does sound like an amazing memory to hold.
Well, it was, but it also showed how spoiled it was. 20 years and couldn't cook for the set.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, when you put it like that, that's a good point. So I'm not going to get into Frank Warren being shot, but career-wise, was that a spanner in the works?
Well, I just lost a fight as well. Just lost that fight just shortly before. My contract had just run out. Frank was obviously laid up with bullet wounds. I'm not too sure if he'd lost the contract with the TV company. Barry Hearn was the new kid on the block. He was signing a lot of fighters, and I went to see him, and he said he would like to sign me, so I signed by Barry Hearn.
Yeah,
which wasn't a nice thing to do after Frank looking after me for 3 years. But I've got one chance at making it. These promoters, and I've always said that these promoters, they just keep going and going and going and going. The conveyor belt, we're on the conveyor belt. As soon as we fall off that conveyor belt, then a new kid coming along, they fill it. So I had one chance, and I done what I thought was right at the time. In hindsight, that probably wasn't right, but I done at the time what I thought what I should be doing. And I had 4 fights with Barry Hearn.
I mean,
2 lost.
How was that process with Barry Hearn? Thinking about your relationships with both Frank and Barry, if I can just be blunt, who was the better promoter for you in your circumstances at the time?
Frank Warren.
Why is that?
Well, as I say, there's a lot of things that he did do for me that I don't want to go into. My sole trainer was Barry Hearn. When I went into the Matchroom, it was sort of like a bigger pool. If you wanted bigger fighters, Eubank was there, Sean Cummings was there, Carl Crook was there, Eubank was there, Silky Jones was there, which we crossed swords from the last fight. Donnie Porter was there, Herbie Hyde was there. It's a massive gym. Really, it's a gym full of talent. You know, I think Steve Collins did this. Eamon Loughlin was there, another Irish fighter, became world champion. So I had 1 year with him, and I said 4 fights, and I lost 2 of them. One I reversed the decision back against Newton Barnett. I think I'd fallen out of love at this stage. I had shin splints that fell from my hand. And it probably wasn't putting the training in the way I should have been. As I say, I'd been boxing top level since I was like 17 years of age, and senior level, and with no real breaks. And I think my body just started to say, I need a break. So the last 1 year, but no, Frank Warren was for me, no problems with Barry Hearn. I still see him from time to time at some of the shows. Get on great with him. Just didn't work out for me.
I'll tell you what's really capturing my attention at this point. I mean, you was with Barry Hearn for a year and you had 4 fights. I mean, compare that to this era, no one's having 4 fights in a year. Unless they're really, really early.
8 fights I had in the first year.
Wow.
With Frank Warren. Yeah. And I broke my hands twice in the first year. I still had 8 fights. In the second year, 4 fights. And the third year, I think I just had 2 and the last one. So, yeah.
This era is so frustratingly slow. You get invested in a career and you have to wait another 6 to 9 months, if not longer, to see them active again. I mean, this weekend we just saw Josh Taylor lose to Teofimo Lopez. Maybe he wouldn't have lost if he was more active than he is. You know, we haven't seen him in 15, 16 months. Yeah, it's frustrating as a fan right now trying to see these fighters be active. But talking of some of the depth of the division, either that you are in or that was around you, being a sort of light middle, light welter. Were you around, or did you have any interactions with Steve Collins, Chris Eubank, Nigel Benn?
Yeah.
And what were they like? Let's reel them off. Let's start with Eubank.
Trained a few times, but never sparred with Eubank. Never asked to spar with him. He used the gym, and you're talking about making the weight one at the time. I remember passing Matchroom gym when they had the gym downstairs at 1 o'clock in the morning, and we all went in, and there he was doing the pads with Ronnie at 1 o'clock in the morning. We're in sweatsuit, trying to make the weight for the fight.
That's crazy.
It was crazy. Dave Collins, I knew Steve from the amateur days, boxing the Irish seniors. I was actually at his wedding there a few years back. Nice guy, tough as nails. Nice then turned pro with Frank Warren, same sort of time as what I did, and the two of us were sort of coming through at the same. Used to have a lot of conversation with Nigel. He thought I was a talent. He says, whatever you do, don't move up the middleweight. He says, it'll get us to clash. He was saying about getting sponsored by such and such to get this. He said, it's got to happen for you. Nice guy. Like Nigel.
Yeah, I do think there was something in the air at that time in boxing. Like I say, it's before my time, but they're still top of the your mind when you think about British boxing and some of the iconic fights that we've seen as a nation, some of the big names. I mean, obviously, when it comes to Eubank and Benn, their sons are both fighting right now. And that's interesting to watch, and they almost fought each other, and we all know the story that went on behind that, but it's very interesting to see those big names and sort of your interactions with them. So you mentioned that you broke your hands a few times throughout your career, and at this stage in your career you're getting shin splints and your body's breaking down. Were you a good pro? And I mean by that, did you sort of put the work in? Was you dedicating your whole life to the sport at this point?
No. And
on reflection, do you feel like that was a mistake, or are you sort of content with what you did in boxing?
No, massive. I said earlier on, you get one chance at it. Without sounding big-headed, things came very, very easy to me. I wasn't really doing the proper road work. I was doing the gym. Wasn't too many people getting the better in sparring. But the sparring's only sort of 4 or 5 rounds. And once you get into the later rounds, the 6, 7, 8, the 9th rounds, that's when you need to have that stamina-based fitness.
Yeah.
And that wasn't really there for me. There was also a wee bit of doubt in my own mind. It never really reflected it in the boxing. I was all sort of not shy, but I was afraid to sort of say, well, I want him and I want him. And I just wasn't that type of personality to be shouting out names and stuff. Maybe it should have. Maybe would have got a bigger fight.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, could have been more dedicated, and I have to live with that for the rest of my life. And the third thing, which I've been given a God-given talent, and I didn't use it to the best of my ability. So you have to live with that.
So with that, then I want to talk about your final fight.
Yeah.
It was a fight in Belfast, in your home, and
in a hall that I've never lost in, Gavin.
I did not know that context.
Yeah, I've never lost in Ulster Hall.
So you've never lost in Ulster Hall.
Yeah.
And this is your fight. Was it planned as your final fight? Did you know that was going to be your last fight?
Yeah, do you know what I did? Because I'd made statements that said, listen, this is my last fight. If I lose, this is my last fight.
Right.
And I'd actually said to a guy who's looking after me, a guy called Owen McMahon, and we're still friends to this day, Owen. And I said, listen, I think it was in maybe the November the year before. I was supposed to be chief support to Eubank Collins in Mill Street when Collins beat Eubank.
Yep.
And I broke my hand, and I couldn't fight on it.
Those pesky hands.
Yeah, just the metacarpals went all the time, and I've been training for fights. It was come back a few fights. I had Eamon Loughlin was going to be defending his world title in the King's Hall in Belfast, and I think it was about second week in February. And I've been training all over Christmas, right on Christmas Day, the usual stuff. Back at home again, training like a demon, and I think about 2 weeks before the show, it got cancelled. I think Eamon hurt his back. And Barry Hearn actually said to me, I think it was for a European title fight, and Barry said, could you make welterweight? And I said, well, I'll probably give it a go, but I'm going to be back down to the way I was. So the whole thing, it all went. And the show was cancelled. So you're left there, and you've had sort of 6 weeks training all over Christmas. Not much of a life. This stage, I'm starting to get to 26, 27. I've literally been training since I was 9 years of age, more or less, right? I remember just saying, listen, there's nothing worth this. You don't get a penny. There's nobody turning around and saying, well, you just spent 6 weeks of your life. Here's your money for your training. We'll try and get you out again in March or April. Then all of a sudden, you're not looking at 5 months of your life is gone, and you haven't received a penny. You know where I'm coming from? If there's somebody there to compensate, and say, listen, there's a few pounds that it's going to keep the wolves from the door. All well and good. But I said to the honest, I think that's me. I think I'm going to pack it in. He came back to me and said, we've got the WBO and the Continental title fight. I said, okay. Who's it against? Paul Silky Jones. You're not getting me a handy one or not.
Yeah.
Because I'd seen him sparring in Matchroom. I knew he could fight a bit, but I still thought I would have beat him. I could stop in the first round.
I mean, we spoke earlier about how that loss dented your sort of confidence. Yeah. How did losing in the first round in front of your home crowd feel?
Disgusting. Yeah. I've been sparring. I've been working out down in Eastwood Gym. At this stage, I've been with Barney Eastwood and training. I've been sparring with Cosando Spania for his defence against Icorte, and it held me on with Cosando. Even the fact that Barney brought me to Paris with him, had all the sparring done, brought me over to Paris, just as a wee thank you because I'd done so well against Cosando. Nice. So then we brought over Kevin Lucien. Remember Kevin? He was a welterweight. He fought Daniel Santos.
It doesn't ring a bell to me.
Londoner Kevin Lucien. Look him up.
Okay.
I think he looked after Nigel Benn for a while. He was like an agent or something for Nigel Benn. The guy, but a really big puncher. As I say, I think he dropped Daniel Santos. I think it was Santos. Maybe even Felix Trinidad.
Okay.
Somebody like he dropped in the first or second round, and then they got up and stopped him, I think, in 6th or 7th round. He was British champion and fought for world title. So he came over to give me a hand sparring. And I think it was the second last day of sparring. He caught me an absolute peach of a left hook and just stiffened my body. Right at the end of the round, he actually don't think seen it. The bell went, and I walked towards my brother. And my brother Frank says, "Oh, he's buzzed you there, hasn't he?" I was like, "Yeah." The next day, Kevin Lucien actually said, "Listen, can we have an easy spar today?" So I'm feeling the effect of the sparring all week. So that suited me. But I think it was a little bit concussed still. Till when I get in with Silky Jones, because he hit me with stupid right hand, just hit me behind the ear, and all of a sudden I'm looking in the canvas and I'm actually thinking, where's Silky going? I'm actually looking at the canvas, and then I realised, Christ, he's knocked me down. And I got up, and it was Dave Paris was the referee, and he counted, and then I thought he was waving it off, and I was going, no, I'm okay. He said, yeah, I'm telling you to box on. So I was still buzzed from it. And then I came in, I grabbed Silky, and I said, listen, that's all you have. You're going to need more. And he split up, and then he hit me an uppercut and stopped me. So I think it was 2 minutes and 46 seconds, something like that. And then I announced my retirement it was on Eurosport TV, or Sky Sports, sorry. And that was it. The career was over. And I mean, it was embarrassing for me to give on. I don't think I went out of the house for about 6 weeks.
Wow.
I lost in around. The place was full. Friends, family. Yeah.
Now, you were 29 at this point.
Yeah.
And we've discovered that you said to yourself, and you committed publicly, that if you lost, you retire. So the retirement itself wasn't a surprise. And can I just say, congratulations for not coming back, because I think that's something that plagues a lot of boxers, particularly when they retire relatively early. That they come back and it's just not the same. So congrats to you for sort of sticking to that to yourself. Life after boxing.
I did make a comeback.
Yeah.
But it was for Hollywood.
Yeah, well, and what a comeback it was, and what a way to come back as well. Do you know what I mean? Exactly. That's like, that's the way you want to do it. You don't want to be jumping in fights that you're definitely outmatched for because you're older and you're taking years out, and forget all that. Yeah. Hollywood is where you want to come back. So life after boxing, was there a plan for that, or was it a matter of find your feet, still 29?
Find your feet and do what you have to do. I bought a house and pay the bills, and you done what you had to do to make ends meet.
So what sort of things with that skill set of boxing? What sort of things did you have to do to make ends meet?
Do you know what? I walked away from it. I walked away from boxing. I started driving a taxi. So I drove a taxi for about a year, and then we started putting cable down. An older brother and a younger brother. We started laying the cable, the fibre optic cable down, or then it wasn't fibre optic, it was cable TV. So it was just digging roads, just doing a manual labouring job. When the word came through that Barry was looking for me to go down, have a rattle with Daniel Day-Lewis.
So this is 1996, I imagine, because the film came out in 7. And, you know, you get a call from Barry?
Yep.
To say, Daniel Day-Lewis wants to make a movie or is making a movie. Do you want to get involved? Talk us through that.
Basically, yeah, again, no mobile phones, and it actually rang my mum's house. I was living at home then. I bought a house, and by the time I'd get home, my mum was on the phone. She's going, "Oh, Barry McGuigan's been on the phone. He's been looking. They're looking at a fight, Daniel Day-Lewis." And I'm going, I honestly hadn't heard about any movie being made. I went, "Well, I've retired. I'm not fighting anymore, and Daniel Day-Lewis isn't a fighter. He's an actor." And she said, "Hold on, I'll pass you over to my brother Frank." So Frank came on, and Frank says, "Listen, Barry's been on the phone. He wants you to ring him in the morning because he's now commentating for Sky, and he wants to ring in the morning. They're doing a movie with Daniel Day-Lewis, and they'd like you to do a screen test for it." So rang Barry the next morning about 11 o'clock, and he's, "Yeah, Damien, we're making this massive movie. I'm going to give this number. Tommy Gormley's the guy's name. He's the assistant director. He'll sort everything out from there." So, and then it was just brought to Dublin, treated like an absolute superstar. Had my own Winnebago, name on the door.
Go on.
Picked up at the train station. Guy started with my name on it, Jerry Fearn, and a lovely big Mercedes. Opened the back door, and I said, "Don't sit in the back, sit in the front." And he drove us over to Phoenix Park. We had all the set all set out, the boxing ring, all the Winnebagos, caravans, everybody running about doing their stuff. Tommy Gormley's wife, Sarah, met me. She says, "Damien, I'm going to be your assistant. Do anything you want. I'm going to show you your Winnebago." Over I went. She said, "Daniel and Barry are in London, and they've been held up because of the weather. In really, really stormy weather, and the flight's been delayed for a couple of hours. Go in, make yourself at home, walk around the set. If you need anything, just come and ask me." So all of a sudden, I'm from Belfast one day down to Dublin on a movie set and sitting in a Winnebago going, "The hell's this all about?" Then 2 hours later, Barry comes in. "How you doing? Haven't seen you in a few years. Need you put on weight?" I put on weight 3 still. Yeah. And there standing behind Barry was Daniel with a big long trench coat and a flat cap on. He's sort of standing there all shy. He introduced me and he said, "How are you?" I said, "Fine. Nice to have you on board. You okay to do a bit of sparring?" I was like, "I'm probably 14 and a half stone now. I'm nowhere near 11 stone." I said that to Barry. I said, "Barry, I'm an open dice to be sparring." I said, how good is he?" And I'm thinking, Daniel Day-Lewis, method actor. He's going to be shit hot here. He's going to get in and really take my head off.
Yeah.
And I thought, he's an actor. He's 40, 39 years of age. Surely he can't be that good. I'll be able to survive 2 or 3 rounds with him. So I got in, big baggy t-shirt on with hiding my belly, and got in. Jim Sheridan was our director. 4 or 5 guys out of Universal Studios was sitting watching the sparring. Barry was there. So got in with Daniel, started sparring. First clinch, he clinched. He just sort of tightened. I think he was nervous. So I looked around at Jim and Barry. I said, "Is this going to be professional fighting or amateur fighting?" And he said, "No, pro." So I said, "Listen, you need to relax a wee bit and move your head a bit more." I said, "I'm not going to hit you hard. I'm not going to hurt you. Feel free to just, but you're still a wee bit too rigid. Are you nervous?" "Yeah, he's still nervous." So I think that was the time they said, "This is the guy for the part," because it wasn't going to be just, telling him he's better than what he is, So I think that's when I had it. A screen test for 3 days, but they didn't tell me for 3 days that I was sparring every day, and they were asking me to act in the ring. Jim was saying to me, "How do you feel about the cameras rolling?" And I said, "I don't care, when you're in the ring, this is my domain. This is where I feel more comfortable. If you're asking me maybe to do a love scene or something or kiss a girl, I'll feel a wee bit out of depth."
Yeah.
But this is what I do. you're the invader, he's the invader, not me. He's the intruder, sorry, not me. You know. So, but then he asked me to act angry in the fight in person and use a couple of expletives, and I thought I got to give this a go, you know, because I didn't want somebody else getting apart. So
Yeah.
I went for it. Yeah.
How did it feel? Like, you know, you mentioned sparring hundreds of rounds with Daniel.
Yeah.
So as the rounds progressed, did he get better? Did you both gel a lot more?
Both Gavan. He definitely got better. I'd say we're doing at least 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds a day some days. It depends what he was doing and stuff. Yeah, he really put the work in, and he wasn't holding back. You know, he was having a real rattle. You know, and I would clip him a few times, and he got a bit.
Go.
Jealous. You know, it was rumoured that I broke his nose. It was in the Sunday paper that I broke his nose. But let me make your own mind.
Go on. Make that 19-4 on the record then. That was the comeback. So I don't know if this is the Hollywood in Barry McGuigan, but he has been known to say that Daniel Day-Lewis, if he really got his head down, he could have won a British title.
Yeah.
What's your assessment on that?
When you look at some of the fighters that do win a British title, you're not going to name anybody. Listen, he was 39 years of age when he started training for the boxer. He actually turned 40 when we were making the movie. So, like, for a guy who'd never fought before, I mean, the level he was at, yeah, he was good. He lacked a little bit of strength. He just lacked a little bit of, you know, sort of strength that he'd grow into as a fighter. He'd only been doing it for probably a year. He'd ever trained doing pad work and stuff like that. Technically very good. I mean, balls to burn. You know, he was a pheasant. You know, because there was a couple of fighters that brought over. Cleon Stewart, he had a part in the thing, and then two were absolutely winging it. And Barry and I were sitting in the corner. Oh Jesus! Cleon was winging the shots at him. Dan was just whizzing past his nose. And Barry said, "Would you have a word with this guy?" So, like, you got to tell him to calm down a bit. You know, if he breaks his jaw or breaks his nose or whatever, he said, the movie could be cancelled. So I said to Cleon, I said, "Listen, this guy's an actor. He's never fought before." And he said, "Well, I'm not over here to be beaten up, to be used as a punch. I'm not asking you to let him hit you, but just don't be throwing full velocity shots back at him." Day-Lewis was there. I mean, he was in pitching, he was in giving him his lot. You know?
So this is real as well, because I've seen a few Creed movies, and you could just tell it's the whole, you know, that kind of effect. But this is real.
I mean, no, this was in preparation for it, Gavan. This was sparring leading up to it. We hadn't done anything. All the fight scenes were choreographed.
Yeah.
They were choreographed. The one punch that I think he hit me when he knocked me down in the first fight, he hit me. And I think he meant to hit me to make it more. Yeah. Because it actually disorientated me a little bit, because he walloped me. You know, he was a strong lad. He could punch a bit, but he didn't have that physical strength. But he whacked me, and then I went back to the corner, and I said to Paul Ronan, who's Saoirse Ronan's dad, he was my cornerman in the movie. He says, "Are you okay?" And I went, "Just whack me, just hit me full on the chin." Yeah. And he says, "Are you okay?" And I went, "Are we doing the second or third round of the choreograph?" He said, "No, second round." I went, "All right, okay." So he did hit me that one.
A little buzz there.
Yeah.
So I suppose
we wanted to make it, as Barry said this well, we wanted to make it as realistic as we could. We didn't want the big, the 10 knockdowns.
Yeah.
Like the Mickey Ward in the Toilet Valley. Yeah. We didn't want that. We wanted to make it more realistic and show the misses. If somebody throws a jab and a miss, well, we all do that. Yeah. No fighter can actually every punch. So we wanted to keep in as much stuff without making it boring for the viewer. We wanted to sort of keep it as real as what we could. And I don't think we get enough credit for the choreographs and the fight scene, because everybody wants the blood and the guts and the blood flying everywhere. Well, fights don't happen like that. Well, not very often they don't.
I think there's a real there's a split in the audience, because I watched George Foreman's sort of movie the other day, and I was a tiny bit disappointed in it because of all the Hollywoodification of it. It missed out some key points, like, obviously they got to the comeback and the heavyweight world title win at 45, but the journey there was sort of rushed a little bit. And the fact that, the way he won the Michael Moorer fight, I felt was skipped over. Like, that's a major point, you know, to be losing the fight pretty much, and then to come back and land the George Foreman right hand is an amazing story that builds, but they sort of skipped over it. So yeah, I do think that was made for sort of a casual audience, whereas boxing fans will appreciate more of the boxer style choreography, because it's what we're used to watching on TV. We're not, like you say, 10 knockdowns at a fight it's just not going to happen. Watching fights that you enjoy anyway.
Not very often. Yeah.
What was your Hollywood experience like? So, you know, around the time, I was born in 97, right? So I don't remember like the premiere of the film and all these sorts of things, right? So, you know...
Oh, thanks, man.
So, you know, was there a premiere? Was you involved in that? You know, I know Barry McGuigan is a major star. So when he's involved, things are going off. So what was that experience like, the Hollywood side of the promoting the movie?
It was surreal almost. Like on a daily basis, it was myself, Barry McGuigan, and Danny Day-Lewis. We breakfast together, we lunch together, we trained together. It was just the whole time we spent together, you know. And then we came to whenever my scenes were supposed to finish in June, but the film was obviously still going on. They actually filmed it in scenes, so there's still like another fight to go ahead. We still love the movie, and I thought, well, once it comes June, that's me. Then I'm finished. They're not going to do me anymore. But Daniel pulled me to the side and said, "Listen, Damien, says, do you mind if you stay here? Stay on set till the very last day of filming, till they shout, that's a wrap." And I was like, you know, of course, brilliant.
Yeah.
So I was there at the time that the film was being shot. I got to witness a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. But I mean, I'll give you a quick story. What it's like when you're not, you know, Barry McGuigan was my childhood hero. You know, he was the man that everybody in Ireland loved. So, and I didn't know him obviously before the movie, and that's why he put my name forward. But still, when you're hanging about with him, and I mean, he trains like an absolute beast.
Really?
Still, I mean, we used to do these things. You can ask him about this called saturation circuits. It was something like, 1,500 exercises in these circuits, and he was like, and then someone would be most would be bothered with pull-ups, dips, burpees. It would last about an hour. I mean, one of the guys, David Irvine, is actually a referee, next amateur pro as well. I think he near vomited, near fainted. I think I done one and Barry done three. And he was just pumping away. He'd be walking down Grafton Street and see a bit of scaffold and be up doing pull-ups. He was a beast for training.
Wow.
So we're not going with him. And we got out of the taxi. We were going to get some lunch. Walked in this, I can't remember the name of it, the name of the restaurant, but they were just closing up. They just finished their lunch and were closing. So we walked in with our boxing boots on, training gear. We just come out of the gym. And the girl said, "Oh, sorry, lunch is finished." So we said, yeah, no problem. We walked back out again. Next thing, the manager came running out. "Excuse me, Barry. Sorry, we're open." Come back in again.
Wow.
Walked in. "Sorry about that." Barry said, "Listen, no, if the restaurant's closed." He said, "No, please sit down." So with me, Daniel, and Barry, we sat down and had lunch. We left him, Daniel left him a hefty tip for keeping the kitchens open. So it was that, you know, you've been recognised all the time, you know, especially with Barry McGuigan.
Yeah.
And people, and then the word was getting out, and the movie was being made. Yeah. So it was a magical time for me, and it was absolutely fantastic.
And you know what? He is a legend because, like I say, I wasn't around during his career, but obviously Shane McGuigan helps, you know, the name stay alive, if you will. I was in Bournemouth to watch Chris Billam-Smith fight Isaac Chamberlain, and Barry was obviously there and in amongst the McGuigan team. And I'm a bit ashamed to say on the podcast actually, but I was in a queue to a nightclub after the fight had ended, and I saw Barry on the other side of the road. Shouted Barry. He didn't turn around. He probably hears Barry all day, every day. And I thought, should I go over there and just say hello? You know, I do this podcast. I'm a real big boxing fan, etc. I thought, I've got to get in the club. The line looks long, and I didn't do it. I stayed in the line. I had a good night. It was fun. It was a great time. But thinking about it, having had this conversation now, I should have went to see Barry. I'm disappointed in myself. But so it sounds like an amazing sort of opportunity there to be working in Hollywood with Daniel Day-Lewis on this film. And obviously, what a name, what a thing to have on your sort of Hollywood record, if you will. What followed that? Any other opportunities within Hollywood that came knocking?
Well, nothing from Hollywood, but I did do I done another movie. I actually got a lead part in a little short movie, like a 25-minute movie. And it came right off the back of The Boxer. I was actually getting on a plane to go to London. I just got my first mobile phone, and the mobile phone went. I was actually just walking the steps and just going to switch the mobile off. There was a guy called Jimmy Kelly from the Kelly music family. They're massive in Germany. They're like a traditional Irish rock thing. They're like in Germany. They get like 50,000 at their concerts. But he was dipping his toe in the movies. So he says, I'm Jimmy Kelly. I've heard a lot of good things about you. I'm trying to make a short movie about boxing. Would you be interested in coming down and having a word with us? And I said, like, I'm actually getting on a plane to go to London. And he said, right, when are you coming back? And I said, this was Friday. I said, I'll be back Tuesday. He says, I'd like to get things sort of nailed down before that. Can we fly a cameraman to London and you meet him somewhere and we can do a bit of shooting with him? I said, yeah, no problem. So on the Sunday, I flew a guy over. He came over and asked me a few questions and done a bit of shadow boxing. He flew back with the stuff on tape. My phone rang on Monday morning. Jimmy Kelly says, are you flying back to Belfast? And I said, yes. He said, well, could you just fly straight into Dublin and we can get things sorted out? So where do you want to stay? I said, well, is it a big budget movie? He said, well, it's not a big budget movie. He said, but we can certainly look after you.
Mm.
So I said, where do you want to stay? And I said, well, I stayed in the Burlington. He said, okay, you go back into the Burlington Hotel. I stayed in the Burlington Hotel, give on for 7 months in a five-star hotel.
You were living good.
Everything, cars laid on, anything I wanted was laid on, So they said, would you like us to get you an apartment or a house? And I said, no. I said, I love this. I love the hotel. It was like a big family. Everybody knew everybody in the hotel at the time. There's a lot of boxing guys in and stuff like that. So it was always somebody to talk to. So I got another movie. It was only a 25-minute movie. It came second at the Galway Film Festival. But I actually thought, is this what it's going to be like? Am I going to keep getting movie roles? And then it dried up. I got an agent then. I've done a few bits and pieces. And, like a couple of days here and a couple of days there, but nothing the magnitude of The Boxer or Fortune's Food, the other one was called. So you never know. Somebody might watch this podcast and say, I need to know a boxer.
Listen, if you are interested in giving Damien an opportunity, I fully recommend it. Just so that's clear. The akhi&saltfish Digital Network fully recommend it. Please do reach out, drop a comment below, and we'll put you in touch with Damien because it needs to happen. We need to see maybe even the boxer too. Let's get Damien. Let's get Daniel Day-Lewis out of retirement, and let's get that comeback pay-per-view. We'll promote it. We'll get it happening.
Yeah, exactly.
I think.
Listen, they've had 7 Rockies, haven't they? So we can at least have 2 boxes.
There you go. I think they're on like Creed 4 now. So, yeah.
Give me some of the title. I'm older, more experienced.
There you go. Shot at the title. Let's get it done. So, what does life hold for you now?
I do a bit of personal training a couple of days a week. I've got 5 daughters, 5 beautiful daughters, beautiful wife. Things are starting to slow down a bit. So I do a couple of days a week. I don't train any fighters. I train business people who like to do a bit of boxing.
Yeah, so you're introducing them to the 1,500 exercise Barry McGuigan regime, I hope.
Yeah, I don't think anybody could do that. It is amazing the amount of people that wouldn't expect to like boxing, love boxing when they start hitting the pads.
Yeah. There's something animalistic.
Yeah. There is. And people don't know it's in there. And women are the worst. I've got a lot of women on my books. I've had a lot of women on my books training, and they get in and sort of a little bit shy at the start. See at the end of the session. I mean, their hair's flying, the teeth grind. They're going for it. It's a good thing like that. It is a good way of stress relief as well. Getting a lot of stress and getting rid of anxiety and stuff like that. So I would recommend it for anybody.
So my final question. In part 1 of our conversation is around damage in boxing. So have you heard of Tris Dixon's book, Damage?
I haven't read it yet. I know Tris Dixon, but yeah, I remember him.
It's a great book. Really recommend it. And is damage that you've sustained both in sparring, in amateur career, in your pro career, is that something you sort of think about at all? Because I must say, genuinely, I'm not just saying this, you are incredibly sharp. You sound incredibly sharp. We speak to sort of boxers who have had careers and you can see the effects it's had on them. But if you didn't tell me you had a boxing career, I wouldn't know.
Yeah. That's how good it was, Cavan.
There you go. Elusive.
That's Silky Jones. No, listen, it's you can't do something for so long and not sustain some sort of damage. You're getting hit in sparring. Like sparring with the damage done. The fight's easy, but you've heard this. You run it. That's important. The fight's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Preparation, the damage is done. The hundreds around sparring, they're making the weight. And I do remember, and I actually spoke to Barry about this, about the Barry McGuigan about this when we were when I retired, I used to sleep a lot. It would be falling asleep, and that's your brain trying to repair itself.
Yeah, rest.
Yeah, trying to, and so there must have been some sort of damage done. And there've been times you've been sitting there and been thinking, "Oh, where was it?" But yeah, you can't do something for. I done since I was 9 till I was 29. For 20, getting punched in the head. There's got to be some sort of damage in there, but it hasn't taken its effect on me yet.
Tris, he talks to I think Tony Jeffries. He worked out if he absorbed 6 punches to the head per round, then across his life, however many rounds he sparred, he worked out, and the number was just astronomical. When you add it up, and you're right, you can't do those things for so long and it not bear its effects. But again, there are a few anomalies that seem to be unscathed. George Foreman's still, lucid. Barry McGuigan's still sharp. Yourself. There's a few fighters who are still sharp, but there are also a few who, we see them go on too long, or even, sometimes with a short career, we see the effects it has on them. So, Eubank's actually quite sharp, considering some of the damage that he took. He's still sharp. So yeah, it's very interesting. I always like to ask our guests that, because it's always interesting to get your perspectives on it, because like I say, we're SOFA Senseis. We watch this from the comfort of our sofa. We're not taking the shots, and it was just good to get your perspective. So Damien, thank you so much for joining us on SOFA Senseis. That has been a really, really insightful episode. I loved hearing about your career and about shooting the movie. So thank you, first of all, for joining us. If you would be so gracious, please do stick around for part 2. We've got 7 signature questions that we ask all of our fighters, just to figure out who they are a little bit more. So that has been SOFA Senseis. You've been joined by me, Cavan, and Damien Denny. Make sure you check out The Boxer it's on YouTube Movies, and it's also on Apple Movies as well. And listen, I'm not being funny, it's a worth watch, because if you watch Creed, that's the fake fights. We don't want the fake fights, we want the real fights, so check it out. Finally, we can be contacted, SOFA Senseis on Instagram, but also akhi&saltfish on TikTok, Twitter, and all those great things. Don't forget to email us with any comments or questions, akhi&saltfish@gmail.com, and please do like, share, and subscribe to us, because it really helps us grow as a network and as a platform. Really appreciate your time. Thank you very much, and catch you next one.